I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, April the 3rd, brought to you in part by Endovac Beef with Immune Plus. For over 40 years, they've been in business, and this vaccine is paired with an immunostimulant called Immune Plus that boosts the animal's overall immune system. It circulates B and T, lymphocytes, antigens, and neutrophils. For more information, go to endovacanimalhealth.com. Resilient cattle markets, and I'll be honest with you, I thought at least the board would be down stiff again on Tuesday, but it wasn't. I thought your cash markets would fall out of bed, especially on your feeder cattle. I knew we wouldn't see much on your fat cattle this early in the week, but I figured your fat cattle markets on feeders and calves, your feeder cattle auctions would be lower, and I thought they would be sharply lower. We kind of got to the end of buying cattle for the grazing season. Most of your feedlots are full, so I thought they would really pull back on them, but they didn't. This cattle market is resilient, and it just goes to show the muscle it has fighting off this bird flu with all kinds of bad press and stories and things like that going. If we could get this behind us, I think the sky could be the limit. But we've still got more of this ahead of us. Now, there was a lot more talk about the bird flu in cattle on Tuesday. We've now seen positive cases in Texas, New Mexico, Kansas, Michigan, and Idaho. And then late on Tuesday, they said they found some in Ohio. But the hell of it is, the cattle that, the dairy, and they're all dairy cattle, the dairy cattle in Michigan, Idaho, and Ohio all came from the southwest there where it started, where they first discovered this. But, we still have not been confirmed that the cattle are giving it to each other. So that will be another thing if they find that, but we have not confirmed that. We're thinking that maybe the cattle that have gotten it are all getting it from them nasty ass birds drinking and taking a bath in their water tank probably and shitting in their feed. And that's what's causing it. We don't know that the cattle are giving it to each other yet. They assume they may be, but that'll be a whole different fight to fight if we find that for sure. We still have not found it in any beef cattle, but if we do, that'll be the third brunt of this bird flu deal. So I hope we don't find any. It would not surprise me if we do find some bird flu and some beef cattle out there, because some of them, especially the in nose and feeding barns, are treated a lot like dairy cattle, but we don't know it yet for sure. But they're doing more testing all the time. They still have only found that one dairy worker that has been tested positive for the bird flu, and all he's got's a slight case of pink eye, and supposedly getting better. And the cattle aren't even dying. The cattle are getting sick. They kind of go off feed and they look lethargic and kind of gan up there for a few days. If they recognize them, they give them a shot. They take those cattle out of the milk line. Their milk's not going in the tank with the other cattle. They pull them off and dispose of their milk where it doesn't get included in there. They give those dairy cattle a shot and they get better. That's what the people are mostly used to that take care of cattle. But a lot of times, dairy cattle that have been there for a while don't get sick consistently, so that may be why they have noticed them there more than anywhere else. But one thing that I thought was ironic is Mexico put out an article or a press release, I guess, that they are going to increase surveillance. So they're going to have more surveillance on dairy cattle, especially, that's being imported into their country. Hell, they've got illegal aliens that are pouring from Mexico on here. Now, granted, most of them aren't Mexicans. Any Mexicans that wanted to come up here have been up here for a long time. These people are coming from places that we don't even know where are, but they're coming through Mexico. We don't know what they've got. We don't know how many of them got bird flu or AIDS or all kinds of different things that we're trying to keep back because we don't have any vetting of them. They just come right across. They just pour right in, thanks to President Magoo and his administration there. But Mexico's going to ramp up the surveillance on the cattle coming across. Well, hell, they already have to come through the port there, and they're going to get dipped and quarantined and looked at and all that kind of thing. And really, that's about the only cattle that go down from United States into Mexico is dairy cattle for the most part. So I'm sure they just wanted to put some kind of a press release out and act like they were on the spot there. But so far, the U.S. government, including USDA and all their agencies, CDC and all the rest of them, FDA included, all of them have still said that the health risk to the public remains very low. And as long as we maintain that, we're going to continue to recover. So, we'll just see how this thing goes. But just very impressive to me how resilient this cattle market is. Although your board came up, it came up some. Your spot months were up the most, which kind of surprised me. I thought maybe your back months would be up the most, but your spot months were up the most. But still, on both live cattle and feeder cattle futures, we've lost mostly around $4 compared to what happened before Monday, right before the trading session ended. But still pretty resilient there. Let's talk about your board there on Tuesday, right after we had that big tumble. I mean, just a complete crash there right before the board closed on Monday. But April live cattle futures were up $1.70 on Tuesday at 181.77. June was up $1.05 at 176.37. Your back months were up 50 cents to up $1.47. But August, the furthest traded out month, and there's not a lot of trade on there, but your August 25 is not following suit. It was down another 367. Might be an opportunity there, guys. April feeder cattle up 307 at 243.50. May was up 217 at 244.85. Back months on feeder cattle up 135 to up $3. May corn down 9 cents at 426.5. May beans down 11 3/4 at 11.74. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for May down 12 1/4 cent at 563 1/4. Fat cattle trade on a direct basis really didn't see anything. We did see some bids swirling out there, and to be honest, the bids were a little bit better than what I thought. I thought they might shoot everybody in the foot, but they did come across with some decent bids. We didn't see hardly any trade. The only trade that USDA picked up and confirmed was in Nebraska on 400 head at 298 dressed. That's lower, but that's not horrible. It's not as there's not what a $7 that was on feeder cattle, but not what a $4 plus down futures market would suggest was going to happen in your bids. And then at Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota, brick and mortar fat cattle auction there. They started trading cattle there near steady, and that brought a little more confidence. And I wish we had a good fat cattle auction every day, but Tuesday is the only day we have a big one that you can really count on to find the market. And in Yankton on Tuesday, they had another light run, probably due to the board on Monday. But we had after a light run the week before because of a snowstorm, but there were 800 head in overnight, 1,200 head altogether. The conventional fat cattle were not well tested the week before because they had such a light run, but they did have conventional, just average typical fat steers and heifers on Tuesday. They sold from 184 to 187 1/4. But your non-implanted cattle, which is probably what they have the most of typically, they were as much as $3 higher on the bottom side of the price spread. The extreme top was about $1.75 lower. They sold from 190 to 194.50, which is very impressive. The 194.50 was on 80 head of black, mostly prime heifers, and they typically get a big string of those in every sale, and it gives us a good test of the market. But this time, that big string of black, mostly prime heifers were $1.75 cheaper than they were a week ago on an extremely light run there. But the market was good considering all the bearishness that happened on Monday afternoon. So we'll take that, and we're glad that we had it. Box beef cutout values were lower. Choice cuts down 158 at 304.16. Selects down 280 at 298.99. Your slaughter is at a snail's pace, guys. 229,000 through the first 2 days of the week. That's 14,000 less than a pretty disappointing week last week, and 16,000 less than the same week a year ago, and evidently they were pulling back on the change speeds then too. Talk about what else is going on. Performance Livestock Analytics, Performance Beef. Ditch your notebook and double data entry or complicated software with one easy to use solution, as easy to use as your cell phone, guys. You can manage it right there in one easy place. For more information, go to performancelivestockanalytics.com. Talk about your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 246.90. It was actually up 55 cents on cash auction steers, averaging 800 pounds, guys. That's impressive. It come back. Reason I'm talking about how resilient your cattle markets are. And your latest CME cash feeder cattle index is 248.27. I'm going to tell you again about the big cow special that they're having at Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri. Right in the center part of Missouri, right on I-70, right halfway in between Kansas City and St. Louis there, just a little bit east of Columbia, Missouri. Easy to get your trucks to, guys. They've got over 1,000 head, and they'll all be top quality. They have really good cattle in that part of the country and in that part of the state. But bred cows and pairs, they've got lots of them. Including in that run is 200 black first calf heifer pairs, another 200 solid black or red spring pairs. Some of them be bred back or 3-in-1 packages. 300 head of black baldy young heavy bred cows. Another 300 young black or solid red fall bred cows. And then a consignment 50 of black or red bred heifers there, guys. And like I said, they'll all be top quality. Get in there. Take this little bump as an opportunity to buy. If you want to see some information or pictures on those, go to CallawayLivestock.com and get on to DVAuction.com. This Thursday night at 6 o'clock p.m. is when they're going to have the cow special at Callaway Livestock Center. Yeah, get a hold of them a little bit early, get approved. The girls in the office are good to work with there. You can talk to Jack Harrison if you got any information or any questions about the run there. But going to be a real good special there at Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri. Let's talk about your big feeder cattle sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyard in West Plains, Missouri is always a good place to get a trend on a Tuesday. They had about 1,800 through the ring. Another 750 head that they have on their in-house video sale they do with help from DVAuction. But the steers going through the ring there were $4 to $8 higher. All weights pretty much, except for the peewees, $4 to $8 higher after a board like we saw on Monday afternoon. Heifers were steady to $5 higher. But you remember the board was down big a week ago Tuesday. So it's comparing to that day. So that's one reason the markets were called that much higher. The peewee calves, both steers and heifers, were a little bit lower, $3 to $6 lower, but that's nothing on 3 and light 4-weight calves, guys. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. About 2,300 head of feeder cattle there, and look at how impressive they are. It's mostly feeder weights. Notice they didn't have too many calves and hardly any light calves at all. But look at your automated market report through Cattle Market Central there. And let's look at your best tested weights. And this is the most impressive to me. 592 head, almost 600 head of 8-weight steers. And they averaged in the heavy 8s, they averaged 869 pounds with a weighted average price on all of them at $251.75. ahead of your real-time index, ahead of your CME feeder cattle index. Very impressive there at Kimball, South Dakota. 693 head of 9 weights, a lot of 9 weight steers there, average 953 with a weighted average price on all of them of 239.53. Wow. Not a whole lot of heifers, but a couple of groups there, that weight groups that were big enough. 187 head of 6 weight heifers, average 658 at 260, 210, and another 187 head of 8 weight heifers, averaged 850 pounds at 231.96. Very impressive sale there at Kimball Livestock Exchange. Give you some individual quotes from all around. How about OKC West and El Reno, Oklahoma? And you said that's a Wednesday sale. No, they sell their calves on Tuesday, feeders on Wednesday. But at the calf sale on Tuesday, they sold 88 steers, weighed 592 at $310. Wow, impressive. How about a market we hardly ever talk about? Messina Livestock Auction in Messina, Iowa. I got this information from a buddy of mine that's a Feeder Flash gang member there. Said they sold 63 steers, weighed 930 pounds at $244. That's impressive. How about Kingsville Livestock Auction? Remember, Kingsville's having that big dispersal. Be another one this Friday, I guess, of the Circle A replacement, or they're not replacements. They were their dispersal of their females there. All your fall females there. 58 steer calves in Kingsville on Tuesday, weighing 417, bring 394. Wow. Impressive, nearly $4. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day, come out of Imperial Auction Market in Imperial, Nebraska, was 50 steers, weighed 627 at 306.75. A lot better top quote than I thought we'd have for Tuesday. That's your Feeder Flash for Wednesday.